So listen, this is not going to be a hit piece. This is not me complaining. I'm pretty much here just to relay some thoughts that I've been having, and I want to hear from you if you think that I'm being wrong or if you agree with me. But I personally think that the YouTuber boxing phenomenon is dead. Right. It was pretty interesting when it first came around. Do you remember those days? Logan Paul versus KSI. That was hyped up. That was the fight. That was supposed to be the be all end all. Both of these guys looked like they actually really hated each other, right? They couldn't be in the same room together and they were going to have this massive big blowout. They wanted to get close to each other. They were making fun of each other's parents, right? KSI was making fun of Logan Paul's dad, calling him a pervert. Logan Paul was making fun of KSI's hairline, talking about the fact that he always wears a bandana, try to rip it off, all that sort of shit. Then they started going to each other's cities. Do you remember those days? And in Los Angeles, and everybody was just, boo, KSI. And in the UK, boo, fuck you, Dagobah. And people bought into it. They thought, bloody hell, this is going to be sick, right? And then Deji and Jake, they signed up to do the undercard. And it was like, fuck yeah, dude. This shit's going to be banging. This is going to be a big deal. The day of the fight came and it was pretty darn impressive. They had a pretty healthy card, right? And Jake beat Deji. But then something funny happened where I think this thing went a bit fucky. KSI and Logan Paul tied in a professional bout of boxing. Statistically, for that to happen is extremely low because of the fact that these points become so minute. But they still tied. What did that allow them to do? Bought them some further time, and it gave them the chance to do a rematch. Sell more tickets, get more PPVs, and they did get pay-per-view buys. That first show sold 1.3 million pay-per-views. Think about that. 1.3 million. Right? And tickets back then weren't even that much. They were about $10. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money, not including sponsors or ticket sales or merchandising or anything else. Or advertising, just pay-per-views. That made cash, and they knew it. They knew that this wasn't going to be the end for them. Because if they did this and one of them would have won, it would have been like, who cares? But then they went on to do some of the most ingenious marketing possible. They hyped up the second one just as much. In the end, KSI beat Logan Paul by 1 point, and there was still some sort of discrepancy because they felt that KSI might have punched a little bit too much. Logan Paul punched too much after the bell went, whatever it was. And then they announced Prime. The energy drink that has recently sold 1 billion units. That's fucked. Those two guys have made so much money that started from that first boxing show. It is insane. But since then, nothing. Right? Logan Paul and KSI are now set for life. They are astronomically wealthy. But from a boxing perspective, there's been some fights. Do you remember any? I remember 1 or 2. I remember Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. That was a recent one. That was a pretty big one. That was the first time Jake Paul had lost, which was a pretty enormous deal because up until that point, Jake had been fighting these like nobodies, right? He fought that really out of shape wrestler where people were like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? I remember seeing this tweet and it was Jake Paul after his next fight and he beats a Walmart cashier and it's like this dude holding onto a trophy. And I was like, yeah, I don't know what he's doing, man. You know, Jake Paul is fighting these like retired MMA guys that don't box, or he's fighting these older wrestler dudes that don't box, right? Or he's boxing these people that have never boxed, and it's like, you're not boxing proper boxers. But I'm not going to put that past him. Apparently, I've seen the Joe Rogan clip. He's a very good boxer. What makes a good boxer? Fuck if I know. But apparently he fits it. Good on you, bro. Do not kick my ass. But what else has happened from a boxing perspective? Nothing. Very little. Or probably a lot. But nobody cares. We had the Creator Clash, which was just another mess on its own. The only reason Creator Clash got any sort of attention was because of Sam Hyde and Froggy Fresh and Ian and people clowning on him, making him feel like a fool. But besides that, Creator Clash was boring. And it was, right? Apart from the one or two people that you know, that you wanted to see, I wonder if they're going to do well. Nobody cares about those things. Which is case in point of the following. If KSI versus Jake Paul had to be announced tomorrow, do you know how much hype there'd be? A little bit. There'd be a little bit of hype. And then it would pass on. They try their best to keep things steamrolling until eventually they fought. Nobody would give a shit anymore. Remember I told you that the first boxing fight sold 1.3 million PPVs? Do you know how much KSI's most recent performance sold? Less than 300,000. That's an enormous dip. It's an enormous dip. The last time Logan fought, he fought against Floyd Mayweather, if I'm not mistaken. That was, in my opinion, the last bit of what could have possibly be done in regards to marketing and hype, because after that, it was done. Did Logan Paul fight Floyd Mayweather? Dude, the size difference between those two must have been insane. Yeah, it did. So the exhibition match between Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather was quite the spectacle, with neither combatant scoring a KO, and the fight went to distance and no winner was declared. Huh. That's ridiculous. That did sell a lot of PPVs. 1 million. I would assume that's just because they really wanted to see Logan Paul get his ass kicked, right? I mean, he's become even more and more scummy now after all the crypto zoo and all the scammy stuff. But even back then, you know, he's somebody that you kind of love to hate. He's like Joffrey from Game of Thrones. That was weird, wasn't it? And if I'm not mistaken, like here's their measurements. Floyd Mayweather is 5'8" and Logan Paul is 6'2". That's like this much of a difference. Enormously different. So I think that if KSI versus Jake Paul gets announced, it's going to come and go. I don't think many people would care that much. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think that YouTube boxing is dead? Or do you think that it just needs another fresh face? Or it needs another angle or strategy? I could box somebody. I wouldn't want to box anybody unless they were severely handicapped. Knock them out. Anyways, let me know what you think. Bye.